1.7% here, a loss of 37 points or so. Apple shares are just getting hammered this morning.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets. Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate. We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%.
We're down over 16%. Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%.
The stock market is now down 21%.
We're now down 43%.
So, wasn't that scary? But how did it all started? What went so wrong that the United States market fell by 57%? So, let's begin. Let's imagine how would that be if the poorest person in the country to own a house? Well, guess what? You will be surprised that this imagination really existed, and they were implemented in the mid-1990s in the United States by government. This attempt to help the most poor peoples was literally the reason which caused real estate bubble to burst. Now, to understand this first, let's do some greetings with two of the largest banks in the world, named Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. These two U.S. banks were created for the sole purpose of providing cheap mortgages so that U.S. citizens could own their own homes. And yep, these banks succeeded in making housing more affordable for U.S. citizens. Well, just like now, before banks had restrictions for being able to give a mortgage, they asked for a down payment that was at least equivalent to 20% of what the house was going to cost. For example, if you wanted to buy a $50,000 house, the bank could lend you $40,000 at most, so the remaining $10,000 had to come out of your own pocket. Clearly, this was a barrier because not all U.S. families had the ability to save 20% of the value of their new home. So the U.S. president of that time, who I think was Bill Clinton, came with a plan to completely eliminate this legal barrier in one stroke. Firstly, what he did was he reduced the down payment from 20% to 5%. And finally, in 2000, he completely eliminated it. Now, he didn't stop here. He came up with another idea called Ninja mortgages. Ninja mortgages are nothing, but it allowed Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae to give mortgages without checking or guaranteeing their customers' ability to pay. In fact, the Clinton administration prohibited institutions from investigating the credit history of certain customers. Can you imagine this in present? In other words, after Clinton's new scheme, people who would never have been able to get a mortgage were able to access them. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but you know that reality is always stranger than fiction. Believe me, you have to believe me, Clinton also forced these two government banks, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, to make 50% of their mortgages ninja mortgages. Now, under Clinton's orders, these banks started to give up ninja mortgages with full power. But it turns out that private banks had also joined the ninja mortgages. Now the question may be coming in your mind that why would a private bank give mortgages to people who they knew would probably not be able to pay them back? Did they want to lose all of their money? The answer is obvious no. They didn't want to lose their money. In fact, they had a great strategy to earn even more. And this is when we get to the ninja trap. First, the commercial banks give out lots and lots of mortgages, and due to this, many people were able to access mortgages, easily triggering the demand for real estate. So the price of housing began to rise overnight. Next, if a ninja defaulted on his or her mortgage, it didn't really cause a problem for the bank, because after the price increase, the bank could resell the defaulter's house and recoup the mortgage money at a profit. And of course, if the houses were resold, it was because other ninjas bought them, and so the circle was complete. Now, in order for the scheme to remain unbroken, house prices must be kept rising forever, and you will be surprised to know that, as it turns out, that in 2005 Americans bought 6 million more homes than in 2000. But where did all these houses come from? Well, in fact, many of them were newly built, which in turn provided work for millions and millions of people. During the real estate boom, the construction sector provided more jobs than the tourism sector. You must thinking, okay, everything seems fine, but from where the money for the mortgages come from, I mean, yes, banks usually have their own money, but was it enough to be able to provide so many mortgages? The truth is, no. The banks had a problem. If they wanted to keep the ninja scheme going and keep lending, they needed lots of money. So what could they do to get a lot of money in such a short amount of time? So what they did was they came up with an idea called mortgage package security. Let's try to understand this with a very, very easy example. Let's imagine I'm a bank that has given out a lot of mortgages, both to ninjas and non-ninjas. But now I am out of cash because the money that I have lended will be paid in installment with a time period of 10 years. So now to get more money, what I am going to do is if I look at all these people who owe me money, I realize that in total, I have given 150 mortgages to my clients. And between them, they owe me $15 million. That is money that belongs to me, even though I'm not going to get my hands on it for a few years. But of course, the problem is that I need the money now to be able to continue giving mortgages. So since I don't want to wait, I will show half of the mortgages to an investor and will tell him that all these people in this little package are going to have to pay me $7.5 million in 10 years. But if you give me $6.5 million now and you get to keep the $7.5 million owed to me in a few years. This way, investor can earn $1 million of margin and I will have my money now to continue with the ninja scheme. Now a question may be coming in your mind that why these banks are ready to bear the $1 million loss. And because there is already a profit for them even if they sell those half of the mortgages at $5 million because remember, they are already selling mortgages at an ultra-high price because of the high demand. Now here comes another advantage, and that is that by lending the packages of mortgages, I will be offloading many ninjas and I will be passing them on to whoever buys the packages for me. So if the ninjas don't pay, it will be the problem of whoever bought the package and not mine. Now you may be thinking who bought those mortgages, and ladies and gentlemen, here comes the Lehman Brothers, who bought the majority of those mortgage packages. Now, Lehman Brothers Bank used to work only in investment segment where people give them their savings and they invest those savings to good returns, and will not be surprised that they invested the majority of savings into those mortgage packages. But what went wrong? Why the bubble burst? So to understand that, remember what I told you. In order to ninja scheme keep running, house prices must be kept rising forever. But fast forward to 2007, that price trend stopped. Housing prices stopped rising. But how? Even if access to credit is easy and everyone can buy a house, the price of housing reaches a limit where people simply prefer to stop buying and rent. By 2007, many people who had taken out these types of discounted mortgages had to start paying the full amount of their mortgage payments. Well, all of a sudden, many ninja customers were unable to afford their new mortgage payments, so they had no choice but to put their homes up for sale. Now you already know what happens when everyone starts selling. Well, indeed, housing prices plummet, and obviously the bank could not keep the house and sell it itself, much unless if the house was in one of the small packages that Lehman Brothers had bought. But what do you think happens when an investment bank like Lehman Brothers has dedicated itself to massively buying up ninja mortgages that no longer pay? Can you guess? Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. Thus, the real estate bubble was burst. And the most shocking part you will hear now is that over 7 million people lost their jobs alone in the United States. And every investor in 2007 and 8 was too afraid that they stopped investing anymore. Yup, there was no money on the name of investing. So, that was the unknown Thruth I was talking about. If you learned something valuable, then please don't forget to subscribe.